Greetings, friends, and welcome to the What's Right show. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, reporting for duty. So I guess right after we concluded the show yesterday, Robbie, things dramatically changed. The ceasefire announced, then hostilities back and forth, and now, once again, at least for now, all quiet in the Middle East. I want to take this apart for you folks so you understand what I think is going on. Not a lot of people talking about this. And let's just, first and foremost, let's understand that there is nobody, me included, that can predict what is going to happen in the next few weeks. I can give you a theory. That's all it is. But it's, I think, a reasonable theory, and I'll explain here as we unpackage this. So remember Trump. First off, I want to address the regime change, so-called flip-flops by Donald Trump. Trump is using the threat of regime change as a means by which to negotiate with the Iranians on both sides. Because one of the most important things you have to understand about the current situation in Iran is that the Iranian government may not be fully in control of the country. Remember, 48 hours ago, the Israelis literally bombed to smithereens the IRGC headquarters in Tehran. Witnesses there saw hundreds, if not thousands, of bodies. This is akin to taking out the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The Ayatollah, the supreme leader in whom really much of the executive authority of the state of Iran rests, may be dead. We don't know. And if he is alive, he is somewhere hiding, and he is something a little bit like, if I can put this in terms, let's see, a little bit like any terrorist, high-value target that is hiding, including Osama bin Laden, not likely to use electronic communication, have a small circle, maybe just one or two people that know his precise location, trusted aides, carrying messages literally, physically, point A, point B, back and forth. This is no way to run a country. So one of the things that, everybody saw, and I'll play it here in a moment, the video of Trump getting on board Marine One at the White House this morning in Washington, D.C., and somebody asks him about the hostilities, because, of course, when Iran fired the rockets at Israel that were not benign, Israelis died. There were multiple deaths. And Trump became enraged in a way that we have not seen so far. And I watched that clip over and over and over again. I've seen it maybe 10 or 15 times. And I say this because, I was fascinated by that raw flash of anger. Trump dropped the F-bomb. Right? He did. He swore on cable television, on the news. It was a live shot. So, and Trump, by the way, Trump loves the F word, okay? He privately uses it a lot, but he controls himself on TV. So why this lash out? I kept thinking about this, and I thought, I believe that there's a high probability that the rockets that were fired out of Iran at Israel after the ceasefire was announced were done by hardliners. Remember, whether the opposition has some control of the country, maybe not. Certainly, the government, the Islamic Republic of Iran, does not have full control, operational control over the country anymore. That we know. So it's entirely possible that we're in this fragile state right now, this moment in time where it could very well signal the end of the Islamic Republic you still have portions of the country and military assets controlled by hardliners. And there is a frantic effort that you and I are not seeing because it is being deliberately kept from our view behind the scenes of Trump and other intermediaries, world leaders, and such, trying to come up with a solution for the Ayatollah regime to leave. Not to be dragged through the gutter and treated like like a dog and killed, in the street, Gaddafi style, but, to in a dignified way say, okay, you guys are done here. And, maybe these 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 people get tried for crimes against humanity, and the rest get a pardon. Things like that might very well being discussed. And in the middle of it, the hardliners fire rockets. And what? And Trump loses his mind. He goes, Israel, what the frick are you doing? This is hanging all of this by a thread. We're trying to get this done. And I get it. Israelis died. But there is a delicate balance between, there's a very delicate balance right now where still the Islamists could very well regain control. We're almost, it's like a Schrodinger's cat kind of thing. It's basically it's both. The Republic right now could both remain Islamic and also dump the Islamic regime as we sit here simultaneously. And I think this explains Trump's kind of really his outburst. I think that's where it's coming from. Now, it would also explain his, this flip-flopping. People are calling it that regime change, no regime change. Yes, it's a bargaining chit, but he's also just playing around with it. He's clearly thinking about it. He was asked on Air Force One on his way to the Netherlands. He's there at a NATO summit as we speak. Trump was asked what he thinks of regime change. He says, yeah, we don't want chaos. I'm not pushing for it. It's not necessary. I don't, but if it happens, it happens. It wasn't a no regime change. It was just Trump being not necessarily very, plain spoken. Whenever Trump goes back and forth, whenever Trump says one thing and then another thing, the media all rush to call him a liar. The media all rush to call him names. And this isn't productive because what they're not realizing is that there's something happening. They're so focused all on Trump. This isn't all about Trump. We're watching, we don't even realize it yet, perhaps some of the most pivotal moments in the history of the world in the last 100 years unfold. And just because they're, we don't, I guess maybe this is the world we live in. We expect everything to be documented on camera and available and visible to us. But this stuff is happening behind the scenes. I've spoken to you about the Shah of Iran, the son of the late Shah, Reza Pahlavi II, who is in Paris. He's waiting. I mean, he is ready to go. And he's apparently, if you take him at his word, speaking to high-level people inside Iran, inside the government, and making deals with them. Presumably promises of protection of their personal safety and the safety of their family members. If we're already talking about that, well, we're in a whole different place than we realize. And throwing bombs into the mix when you're at that level would be foolish. Now, Israel, Israel, of course, and I get it, right? Israel still has objectives, and they go, well, listen, you either go with the ceasefire or you don't. Maybe Israel did jump the gun. I don't know. And we won't. None of us will know. It's all pure conjecture until some time passes. So I guess my takeaway in all of this is, number one, keep focusing on what Trump is doing and not what he's saying. Look at the ground game to the extent that we understand it. Then, number two, very importantly, much of what you are told on a day-by-day, well, certainly minute-by-minute basis, if you're on X, formerly known as Twitter, much of what is on there is so fluid and it's wrong. I still can't definitively tell you how successful, for example, our B-2 bombing attacks were on Fordow and the other two sites in Iran. I've seen some information today that suggests it was a hell of a lot more significant, the damage caused, than CNN and MSNBC would have us believe. It's okay to be skeptical. I'm rooting for America. I'm rooting for Trump. I'm rooting for Israel. I'm rooting for the people of Iran. And at the same time, I can't let my biases, get in my way and make me want to be a cheerleader to such a point that I'm not, I'm not being realistic. So what I think is realistic, I think something is up. I smell, trouble in the in that little place called paradise with all them virgins that all these people seem to want to escape to. So there it is. There's something going on in the Islamic Republic of Iran. And it may very well be coming to an end. And Trump is absolutely doing this the right way. Maximum pressure on the Ayatollahs, some pressure obviously on Israel. When the moment was important, he came in and did it. The bombs were dropped in furtherance of American interests above all else. And then Trump goes, let's do peace. And the Ayatollahs went from telling Trump to go pound sand the week earlier to literally begging for some form of dialogue and praying really for ceasefires. Something in the space of a week, significant, changed in Tehran. And that is what I think, that's a sign of good news. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right Show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash 702-820-1234 because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam & Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone, Sam at whatsrightshow.com. And then, of course, on X, on Twitter, as it was once affectionately called, at What's Right Sam. So Bruce, a longtime listener, good friend of the show, emailed me here during the break with a very important note. I want to share this with you. And Bruce, thank you for sending this. He is convinced that the taqiyya, this is the part of Islam where basically you can break your word when dealing with non-Muslims, would make any agreement with Iran meaningless. So, yes. And by the way, Bruce, tell this to Obama and John Kerry and every one of those dolts that was running U.S. foreign policy vis-a-vis Iran in those critical years when I believe Iran got precariously close and launched, well, I'll put it this way, launched what would ultimately be a program that got precariously close to having a full-scale nuclear weapon. All of the negotiations were designed only to mess with Americans, prolong things, and gain time. And I think Obama actually knew this and did what he did as a strategy to help actually the Iranians get the bomb. There's really no other good explanation for it. So this is why also I think that regardless what Trump is saying about regime change, he wants regime change. See, Bruce, you made me get it out. I think that was the point of my open. Trump doesn't want regime change, but at the same time, he wants regime change. I'm going to play the clip I mentioned just last segment, and this is on Air Force One. This is earlier today. Trump is on his way to the Netherlands, and he's basically saying that he doesn't want. Well, here, let me play the clip.
Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was, but no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos, and ideally we don't want to see so much chaos, so we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people, and they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job.
But that was a lot of words. That was a lot of words from Trump. And again, listen, I love the guy. People are on him for lying. I want him to lie. You want him to tell the truth all the time? No. We're in the middle of a high stakes, high risk, high reward negotiation. You hold your cards close to your chest. You don't say things. So Trump sent out that troll tweet the day before about, regime change maybe is not that dirty of a word. Now the reporter on Air Force One says, Sir, do you want to see regime change in Iran? And Trump goes, if there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I like to see everything come down as quickly as possible. Those are actually contradictory statements. What does he mean by, I'd like to see everything come down as quickly as possible? The temperature of things? Maybe. War footing, cooling of the heads, if you will. Maybe. The government of the Ayatollah? Maybe. And then what does he say? He gets into this whole thing where he basically explains that any rebuilding of a new and modern Iran will be made possible through the sale of exported oil. Come again. Did he just agree to unilaterally waive sanctions on Iranian oil coming out from the Islamic Republic? Or is he already thinking ahead to a world without the Ayatollah? Look, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that this is my working theory. And if you disagree with me, email me, okay, and tell me I'm wrong. And tell me why. And be smart like Bruce. I'm just, this to me is so it's fascinating to watch in real time. By the way, it also explains the anger, right? This is the moment, and we've bleeped out the F-bomb, but you'll know when he said it, and you've probably seen the video. But I'm playing this again here because it is another exhibit in my case for why I think Trump is up to something vis-a-vis the Iranian regime.
I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
There it is. Absolutely. Why so upset? Why? Because I think it's all very fragile right now, and he understands that. Can I also say everything that all of these right-wing media influencers said about Trump was so wrong? Yep. Right back after this, folks. Don't go anywhere. Well, CNN has updated its story, and it's still not very nice to Trump and to our military. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, CNN yesterday put out a story with one of the leading news channels, to claim that the military strikes, the B-2 bombings of the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, were not a success. That the bombs did not actually, put an end to nuclear enrichment. And here on the What's Right show, I'm not just a fanboy for the president. I have to weigh what information is available. I'm not in the briefings on this. And if I was, I wouldn't be allowed to talk about it on air. So for me, it has to be conjecture based on the sources. Now, the crazy thing about the American media is that they would rather side with our enemies generally than give Trump a win, which I think is beyond perverse. But you and I, as conservatives, as fans of Trump, we have to be realistic, right? We have to say, look, we don't know yet just how much damage was done. We have no idea. But judging by the temperature on the ground, okay, judging by the fact that the Iranians were open to some kind of ceasefire deal, and maybe that the regime itself is crumbling, probably the punishment delivered by our B-2 bomber pilots over the weekend was significant. And I feel better about the strike today than I did yesterday. Incidentally, the Fox News, New York Post, says in a completely different headline, U.S. strikes on Iran nuke facilities caused more damage than first believed. The IAEA, this is the International Atomic Energy Agency, the same group that said, oh, yeah, the Iranians are very close to a bomb, and voted to sanction Iran and declare them non-compliant with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. They are now claiming that the latest satellite images show additional damage and perhaps possible contamination, meaning leaking radiation from those sites. We will know. I mean, we have sniffers around the region. It'll take some time for that, for that toxicity to get out. And I'm convinced that one of the things that our military, Pete Hegseth and the planners, the Joint Chiefs, were looking at was how do we take the site out and at the same time not blow it open so that we have nuclear particles being, blown to the, 4 different directions. We don't want to poison the planet with this stuff. I mean, this mission, we don't know it right now where we stand. We don't know anything about it. We have no clue. I'm just telling you, we don't. But someday there's going to be a great movie made about it, and then we're going to know a lot more. Just kidding. Hollywood won't make a movie about it if it makes Trump look good, so they'll shelve it. But regardless, we'll know more about it in time. Here is what Trump said, by the way, as he was getting on Marine One. This is before he dropped the F-bomb. He was pissed right from the get-go when asked about the strike on the 3 nuclear facilities in Iran.
That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real ugly.
Israel says that they violated the peace.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Trump woke up ready for war today. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the extent of the damage, and neither do you. It's all speculation. Again, if it was nothing, if they missed the target or the bomb only did damage, the first 30 feet, 30 meters and didn't go the full 80 or 90 or whatever it is, the Iranians would have shrugged this off. They don't seem to be shrugging this off. Can I also say one other thing? Trump is making a big show of being mad at Netanyahu. Now, by the way, this is a conundrum for the Tucker Carlsons of the world, because now Tucker, well, I thought it was Trump getting dog walked, okay, by Netanyahu. Well, that's what it was. I think actually Mike Cernovich used those exact words over the weekend. I do. I don't have the tweet wherever it is, but people on the Tucker Carlson side of this, the non-interventionist MAGA camp, basically called Trump Netanyahu's biatch, okay? In so many words. Now, then Trump is like yelling at Netanyahu and treating basically Netanyahu publicly like a child. So it's kind of funny, right? How Trump is able, depending on who you ask, exist in two places simultaneously, right? He is both an interventionist. You ask certain people, he then turns around, he's a non-interventionist. He's a warmonger, he's a peacemaker, okay? He's some ways a small government libertarian, but in other ways a big government, big spender. Trump is, you can't put it true as you can't really nail him down in anything, but he is a results guy. And the result that he wants, I'm going to tell you right now, the result he wants, Robbie, you tell me if I'm right about this. Trump wants that peace prize. Gosh, he wants that peace prize so badly. He keeps talking about it. Now, why anyone would want that godforsaken medal, I don't know. Because it has gone to the biggest freaking losers in the history of the world. Okay? The people that have gotten that medal. Don't even get me started. The Nobel Peace Prize is run by an association of communist trolls. But Trump is he likes that. He does. He wants the recognition. How many times has he said, I'm going to get the Peace Prize? So what does he want to do? Let's say it's not really about the medal. A guy that is Trump's age, and I am 44, I'm going to be, not to reveal anything, I'm going to turn 45 this month. So I joked, I told my sister, it puts me I'm exactly midlife, maybe a little under. She said that was optimistic. I have longevity in my family, we shall see. But my point is, at my age, when you're in your mid-40s, you're not thinking about legacy. I'm maybe starting to now, right? I got kids. They're getting older. I'm thinking about setting them up for success, maybe someday becoming a grandfather, that kind of stuff. But when you're Trump and you're president of the United States and you're in your 70s, you've got more yesterdays than you have tomorrows, certainly. And you're thinking about, how will the world remember me? And I know Trump obsesses about this. Trump would love nothing more than to remake the Middle East. And he started He started this in his first term. He started this with the Abraham Accords, and it was a miracle. You know, I woke up this morning and forget all the stuff going on. Do you know that actually, as we speak, Israel is entertaining normalizing relationship, basically, normalizing relations, with Syria. Robbie, if a year ago I told you that in June of 25, Syria and Israel would be talking about kumbaya and whatnot, you'd have told me I'm insane. And yet here we have the National Security Advisor of Israel saying that Israel and the Syrian regime are in direct and daily contact discussing the possibility of normalization. This, according to the Times of Israel. National Security Advisor Tzachi Hanegbi confirmed the comments he made during a classified session of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee on Sunday, saying there is direct daily dialogue at all levels between Israel and the regime in Syria. I'm leading it with political officials there. This is great. And I think this is what Trump wants. If we really get at it, if we really look at it, this is what Trump wants more than anything. He wants to be remembered as a peacemaker. And it has something to do with his, I think, he is, and as he gets older, I think he's more and more religious. And he views, he views the admonition that blessed are the peacemakers as something very real and meaningful to him. And I think Trump realizes that he's never going to have peace with the Ayatollahs, like the Iranian regime. The Islamic Ayatollah people in Iran are never going to allow real peace in the Middle East. So when he says no regime change, I don't believe him. And I'm glad that I don't believe him. I'm glad that I believe, surreptitiously behind the scenes, our government is working on helping and creating the conditions for a new government, a free government of Iran. And I don't think it's going to be the kind of mess that it was in Libya or Afghanistan or Iraq, because it's a different country. And there, B, is an organized opposition of people that are favorable to the West and are secular. So those are all things that I think of here as I look at this. And what I try to do is create a lens for you by which to see this, so that when you get bombarded with little news flashes from CNN, you're able to cut through the BS. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, back in a moment. Hi, welcome back to the What's Right show, powered by Sam & Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust for your personal injury case. 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. So the 12-day war, if the ceasefire holds, will be a thing in history books, right? Very short conflict, but one that was bloody nonetheless. According to the Times of Israel, 28 people were killed there, over 3,000 wounded. Iran launched 550 ballistic missiles and around 1,000 drones. At least 31 ballistic missiles impacted Israel in populated areas, and just one drone stuck a home. 9,000 people were displaced from homes that were damaged or destroyed. Now, in Iran, a country that is roughly 9 times the size of, population-wise, 9 times the size of Israel, 974 people were killed, so a disproportionate number of people there. Tough to get the exact math. I suspect it's likely more. 3,400 or so wounded, according to official estimates released. By the way, Robbie, I did some quick math, and if half of the people killed in Iran were men, that means that there had to be a sudden influx of approximately 35,000 virgins in heaven. I mean, it's just some basic calculations, okay? It's a ridiculous religion. What am I going to tell you? It's a fatalist religion. It's a death cult religion. I'm not going to give it. And by the way, I'm going to talk about this next hour. See, I got all fired up. You know that there's some, socialist Muslim retard running for mayor in New York City? This guy is dangerous. Mark my words. And we conservatives would be fools to just write him off. He is a slick talking fanatic. And that he is coming anywhere close to the mayorship here in New York is frightening. The guy's a full-blown communist. Oh, I'll get to that next hour. Well, I'm just so anyway. It's all of it's frightening. Okay, so here's what I want to just give you some of the statistics, right? So it's been a lot of death and destruction, and Israel has been hurt by this. Can I point something out, though? If you have 31 ballistic missiles, some of them hypersonic, that have struck neighborhoods, right? Densely populated areas. And I don't want to minimize death, right? Every life is precious. You know that Israel, 28 lives, you know what that tells me? That Israel protects the lives of their citizens. The Iron Dome, mandating shelters in homes, in public buildings, in public places, right? Detection protocols. Everyone's got an app on their phone. They get warnings if missiles are incoming. They're told to shelter or shelter in place. And conversely, the math being off and disproportionate number of casualties in Iran tells me that the regime is, by the way, and in Iran, Israel going out of its way to target just regime targets, right? These are, high-level commanders, nuclear scientists, people in government, people in the police. So the regime is not even, forget ordinary people, the regime of Iran, with its death cult fatalism, can't even protect its leadership. When you think about that, and you hear somebody tell you, like I have heard for the past 2 weeks, Sam, why are you such a shill for Israel, And I've been called some pretty nasty things. And I mean, listen, not that it matters. I'm just going to answer the question because I get these gross emails. I'm not Jewish. There you go. I'm not. But I side, I'm sorry, I side with the culture, with the country that values life. I side with the country. For me, it's always been very clear with Israel. I have watched iterations of Israeli politics be willing to give up pretty much everything for peace. I watched Ariel Sharon give up Israeli settlements and bulldoze Jewish villages to give them to the Palestinians, hoping that it would bring about peace. And these sick messes of excuses for human beings, the Palestinians, whatever the hell that is, it's not enough. Nothing is enough. It's a death cult. So are the Iranians. None of it's enough. They want death and destruction. And by the way, if you take Islam at its word, they're coming for us. We're not immune from it over here. We're sitting in Las Vegas, Nevada. We think we're immune. They're coming for us. And you can be here. You can sit in your living room in Las Vegas and go, wow, America first. Even Trump understands that America first means we got to protect ourselves from people who want us dead. You can't coexist with people that want you dead. And this is the number one problem is, I tell you, if I have to sum it all up, we Americans we're amazing people. We are industrious. We're creative. We're immensely hardworking. We are generous. But we are naive. I think it comes from being in a big country where we've never actually been invaded until the Biden administration. I'm going to tell you, and by the way, that is how I describe what is going on in New York right now. If you think that that blue cities and blue states have hit a turning point, that things are getting better from here, I don't think so. It's funny. I'm going to join Riley Lewis today. We're going to talk about this too on RAV. Real America's Voice. This is such an insane story. Wait till I tell you about it. All right, don't go anywhere, folks. Sam Mirejovsky back after this. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. My email, sam@whatsrightshow.com, sam@whatsrightshow.com. And on Twitter, on X, where I frequently, when I'm not on air, give my thoughts and commentary on what's going on in the world. You can find me at What's Right Sam. Go on Twitter. If you're not on there, create an account. It's free. It's easy. And then, you can follow people. You can follow even people that you completely disagree with, but at least you get some interesting perspectives. So, high recommend for me. At What's Right Sam. That's where you find me. Okay. I saw this, Robbie, and I'm glad you sent it to me and to the team because this story, I want to talk about New York here for a minute. And before we get to their ridiculous election that is going on right now, the primary for the mayor's race, they're going to be picking a new mayor. Current mayor of New York, the embattled Eric Adams, is facing some stiff competition from a complete bunch of losers. I don't know how else to put this, but I'll get to that in a moment. Give you an example of how bad things are in New York. I saw this, Robbie, too, and I'm glad you brought it to my attention because, of course, I deal with this professionally all the time. I see this, unfortunately, in my line of work more than I would care to admit. And that is that there was a report in the Sunday's New York Post on how Russian and MS-13 gangsters, these are people in the country mostly illegally, have teamed up with slimy surgeons, lawyers, and even hard money lenders to use these migrants, some of them even homeless, believe it or not, and other vulnerable New Yorkers to undergo unnecessary surgeries in personal injury cases. Now, if you're new to the program, let me explain a little bit about who I am and what the hell I'm doing on the radio. Just a quick sort of thumbnail sketch here. I am an attorney. I, of course, co-founded Sam and Ash Injury Law with my partner, Ashley Watkins. She's not my wife. She's not my sister. We are just friends and partners. So just, people ask that. Anyway, one of the things that we do here, because we both worked at big firms prior to this, firms that maybe didn't do everything right, we always said, look, whatever we do, we're going to be ethical in the practice of law. Now, this comes as a great shock to people, and I'll tell you, it was just, Robbie, I was just having this conversation yesterday here in Vegas, talking to a room of lawyers, all of them great people, colleagues in the business, absolutely like us, honest and ethical in how they conduct themselves. And we were lamenting that here in Nevada, the state bar, and frankly, our attorney general as well, do not enforce really rules against shady lawyers. And that, I made the joke. I said, well, I kind of feel like a 5-year-old saying, it's not fair. And hearing my mom tell me, well, life isn't fair, but it is very difficult to compete against criminals who just seem to be getting away with criminal activity. And that happens, folks, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're in Las Vegas What I am describing to you in this story, you absolutely, if you've driven in the city today, you have seen a billboard and a lawyer on that billboard who participates in this type of predatory behavior. I know that for a fact. Not going to say who, I'm just going to say it's out there. So this report came as no secret to me, but basically, New York City is been overrun with illegals, right? We know this. We know that through these NGOs and FEMA money, New York City was being given an enormous lifeline and an incentive, a profit incentive to house illegal immigrants. And, you know, and now those illegal immigrants are being used by very shady lawyers and criminal gangs to basically, you know, they claim to get into an accident, might not even be a real accident. They get sent off to a lawyer who then sends them off to a doctor that's in on it, and they'll even perform surgeries on these people that they don't even need. This is absolutely horrifying. Now, does it happen? Yes. Who is the victim of this? Well, obviously, some of the people being used and having surgeries done on them that aren't actually hurt. Yeah, they're the victims. And then I think the biggest loser in all of this, of course, is the rest of us, the public, because obviously insurance rates will go up. But also, if you and my clients have credible cases, look, folks, I drove to work today. The driving here is insane. There are people out there who drive terribly, and they deserve to get sued when they cause an accident. They deserve to have their insurance rates go up, and you deserve compensation for what they do to you. So these legitimate claims now get lumped in the court of public perception, and it's terrible because it's an enormous disservice to folks who are actually legitimately hurt. So I hate this, and I'm in the industry, and I am all about this industry. I think we ought to self-police ourselves better than we do. And I'm just saying all of this to tell you that these are the kind of problems that face big cities like New York. They face us too on a smaller scale here in Vegas. Big problems in New York, crime, okay? We had not that long ago entire swaths of public spaces absolutely consumed by illegal immigrants, flooding, public squares, parks, etc. Homelessness. You have protests, anti-ICE protests, people hurling stuff at cops. You have the Hamas terrorist sympathizers coming out there. And in the midst of this, what do you think the answer is? Because I'll tell you, have you been to Miami in the last 5 years, Robbie? I don't know. Have you, by the way? Have you been to Miami last 5 years? Miami's like this. It's sick how much money is in Miami. It's sick that, 5 years ago, a house was, 3.5 million, and it's now 25 million. Why? Because anybody with half a brain and the means to do it has moved from New York, which has turned into a dumpster fire, to Miami. And the answer to reversing that would be to make New York great again. New York was built by capitalists. New York was built by risk takers. New York was built by people who invested and employed, made their fortunes, but in the process, of course, made New York the incredible city that it is. These are people who gave to the arts. These are people who built museums, built Carnegie Hall. I don't know. Who do you think that's named after? A social worker? I don't know. People are just so stupid. Like, where do you think New York came from? Everything that every liberal likes about, it's the culture. I like the culture. The museums. You dumbasses. You don't understand that the people who made that happen were the quote unquote robber barons that you're constantly railing against. The pretentiousness of the American left never ceases to surprise me. So I'm now setting the stage. So there's a mayoral election, and there's this 30-something-year-old Muslim socialist that's running for mayor, and he's got all the buzz. Now, I saw, Robbie, you just sent me in the break, didn't open this up yet. It looks like his chances have dipped a little bit. Yesterday, it looked like he had the highest chance or percentage chance possibility of winning. Let me play for you some of this guy's, some of his pronouncements. It is absolutely terrifying that great American cities are being burned to the ground and continue to be burned to the ground by crazy leftist politicians. From LA to San Francisco to Chicago, right? Brandon Ford to, Johnson to New York now, if this guy happens to get in. My God, I mean, what have we done with this country? These cities are absolutely, and look at it. We're lucky in Vegas. My goodness, so lucky. Our mayor might be a Democrat, but she's not a raving lunatic socialist. My gosh, Shelley Berkeley is basically a right-winger compared to these people. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam & Ash. Yes, don't call the other guys. Call Sam & Ash Injury Law because you deserve what's right.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Great news out of Texas. Carmelo Anthony has been indicted by a grand jury for first-degree murder in the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf. This is great news. I certainly hope that Austin Metcalf's family gets some justice for this heinous crime. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Other bit of news. Just saw this here as I'm perusing Twitter, where you can find me at What's Right Sam, at What's Right Sam on Twitter, now known as X. Wait. Here I have it. Oh, Trump is at the NATO summit. He's in the Netherlands. By the way, the NATO Secretary General is a former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, a.k.a. Holland. Big-time globalist, one of the people that actually flung open the doors of the country to a Muslim invasion. And now the Dutch are paying the price. Mark Rutte. Well, here's what I saw. Zelensky is there. He's there. He is with the NATO people. This, in and of itself, a bit provocative, perhaps, to Putin, although could be used as a trading chit, right? One of the things, and, Putin's made this very clear, doesn't want to have Ukraine in NATO. So that would be a condition to a peace or a ceasefire there. Anyway, Zelensky is wearing a suit. That's what I wanted to tell you. He's wearing a suit. So somebody posted this, and I'm looking at the video here frantically during the break. Did you see me, Robbie? My brow was furrowed. I'm looking. Finally, the camera sort of pans over to Zelensky. And sure enough, he's wearing a suit, but no tie. And it's all like buttoned up. Hold on. I'll do it here. It's like buttoned up all the way to the top. Sort of like the Kim Jong-il or the, Stalinist pajama suit. Who wore it best? Now he looks like a villain from a Bond movie. Did I say that right? Villain from a Bond movie. I'll make that. Okay. Anyway, so these are the updates. Now, New York, election day today. Robbie, it's too early to tell, right? It's 5:30 there. We're going to find out. There is the Nehru color. Yes, Robbie. Yes, Robbie's coming back here with the proper call of what this outfit is called. Whatever. New York. We're moving on. The election is today. Mayor of New York. New York is, it's America's city, right? What happens in New York sets the tone for the country. The mayorship of New York is an important position. Now, it may not have any direct influence, for example, on us here in Las Vegas or wherever you may live, but it's still an important position, and it's got some amount of prestige, and honestly, right, what happens in New York can affect the national mood and economy. Now, this guy that is running, this is bonkers, okay? He is a socialist, unabashed socialist. That's what he calls himself. His name is Zohran Mamdani, and he's 33 years old. He's a state assemblyman and a democratic socialist. This is the party I keep telling you about, folks. These are the people that are quietly taking out old school Democrats and replacing them with basically budding commie pinkos. Now, so by the way, he represents a part of Queens, so he has some overlap with the district, AOC's district, okay? He was endorsed by Bernie Sanders and AOC. He's an immigrant from Uganda, raised in Cape Town, South Africa, and later in New York City. Lovely. Here are some of his policy proposals. Freeze the rent for nearly 1 million New Yorkers living in rent-stabilized apartments. Rent control. More of it. That's going to help things. Free city bus service. Universal child care. Use of social workers instead of police to counter urban violence. Yeah. Because, gangbangers shooting at each other with guns. They want some guy to walk out there. Excuse me, gentlemen, please. Would you kindly lower your voices? Deploy the librarians. What is this craziness? He's going to pay for it, by the way. Raising taxes on the city's wealthiest. That's another great idea. But here's one of the best ones. He wants to have city-owned and operated, not-for-profit grocery stores. This is absolutely bonkers, Robbie. We got the video of him saying that, right? This is... Here we go. Yes. He released this on TikTok, so it's a TikTok video.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zohran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you.
So first of all, let's just back up here. The last part horrifies me. Imagine having to compete as a private business against a business that doesn't have to pay rent and doesn't have to pay taxes. I mean, that's not good. But since when has the government ever run anything that provides a service with some degree of efficiency? The great thing about democratic socialists is they never lived in actual socialism. In 1989, day after Christmas, my father and I got on a train, went from Switzerland, which is a beautiful first world country, was then, is now, got on a train and went back to newly, freshly liberated Czechoslovakia. Took the night train, showed up in Prague, and for the first time in my life as a 10-year-old, I was standing there in a country that a month and a week earlier was a communist country. Now, it might not surprise any of you that in a week and a month, in whatever that month and a half, whatever, call it that the country was basically still functioning as it had under communism, but with just a little bit more freedom of travel and speech, etc. And can I tell you one of the most shocking things to me as a boy from Orange County, California, who had at that point traveled to Europe a few times, but only to Western Europe, was seeing the state-run grocery stores. I was hungry. There's nothing on the shelves. And I went into the store and I said, Mom, Dad, why isn't there any food on the shelves? And I'd ask my aunt, I'd ask my uncle, what's going on here? My grandfather. Well, honey, the people that work here get paid no matter what. There's no incentive for them to stock the shelves, to put anything out, to even take things out of packaging in the back. They just sit here and collect a paycheck. Can you imagine if we bring this to America? Well, I'm just getting warmed up on this. This is craziness. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Welcome to the What's Right Show, your place for common sense conservatism, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., here on News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends. Sam Mirejovsky here, your friend in Las Vegas. I always say that to my to people I meet. I said, well, I'm Sam. I live in Las Vegas. Everyone needs a friend in Las Vegas. Those of you who live here are probably laughing because you know how this is. People call you up, say, hey, we're coming to Vegas. And you're like, hey, I've got life going on. I love visitors, by the way. It's funny because I had a dear relative of mine tell me she was listening to the show, and I was making fun of how people come to visit. The great thing about Vegas is they can stay in a hotel. She goes, well, I guess you don't want me to come and visit. No, Vicky, that is not the case. We love having you. Okay, Zohran Mamdani, the superstar young Democratic socialist who is taking New York by storm, may eke out some sort of an edge victory here. This is the Democratic primary. Why is it being treated like some sort of dispositive result? Well, because, of course, Democrats tend to win in New York. And he's running against Cuomo. Yes, that Cuomo, the former governor of New York, Randy Andy, the guy who couldn't keep it in his pants and was basically a sex pest chasing after staff members. That Randy Andy, who also sent people's grandmas and grandpas' parents to die in nursing homes by sending in infected people in the early stages of COVID. Cuomo's a despicable creep too. So I guess, and I don't know there's some other candidates, but I guess you're really choosing between Cuomo and what is this? Ayatollah Jr. Mamdani. Mamdani's entire platform is to give away free stuff. It's very compelling, right? You can understand why socialism, communism is so seductive. Listen to this.
Our campaign is surging, and you want to know why? Because the ideas we're fighting for are popular. This month, for example, we got new polling that showed that 2/3 of New Yorkers support city-owned grocery stores, a policy we've championed for months that would guarantee cheaper groceries. But that's not all. A separate poll found 3/4 of New Yorkers support making buses free, like this one. As a state legislator, I won $15 million to fund a first-of-its-kind fare-free bus pilot that led to a 30% increase in weekday ridership and a 38.9% decrease in assaults on bus drivers. Now I'm running on a plan to make every bus fast and free. And finally, this week we found that nearly 80% of New Yorkers agree with my plan to freeze the rent for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. Politics isn't always that complicated. We're in second place because we're fighting for everyday New Yorkers. So join us at ZohranforNYC.com and win a city that New Yorkers can actually afford.
He's also not wearing a tie. Kind of like Zelensky. By the way, why, if it doesn't work out for him, Robbie, to win the mayorship of New York, maybe he could come to Vegas and get a show. Because this man can do magic. Did you hear that? Everything's going to work better and be free. Oh, wow. That's what we're going to do. Better, faster, bigger, cheaper, or even free. The difference between Republicans and Democrats, particularly now Democratic Socialists. Why do I even make the distinction? The Democratic Party these are not your grandpa's Democrats, okay? These are people who are literally communists. Their platform is indistinguishable from communist parties of the 20th century. And the amount of despair and destruction that was spread around the country is enormous. Now you're thinking, Sam, I'm in Las Vegas. What the hell are you doing talking about some guy running for mayor? He might not even win. Remember, just yesterday on The Late Show with Steve Colbert, Mamdani said this isn't just about New York. This is a referendum on the Democratic National Committee, on the Democratic Party at a national level. This is huge. This guy is a contaminant that is spreading, and he will spread to other Democrats, maybe Democrats even here in Las Vegas. Listen to this.
Why do you think this particular race has become a countrywide story?
I think in some ways because it's a referendum on where our party goes. What we're talking about is a race that has now seen the most funded super PAC in New York City's municipal history, a race that is, one that billionaires and corporations want to buy. And this is a tale that we're seeing across this country, where it's a battle of organized money versus organized people. And ultimately, it's a question for our own party of how do we move forward? Do we move forward with the same politicians of the past, the same policies of the past that delivered us this present? Or do we move forward with a new generation of leadership, one that is actually looking to serve the people?
Well, mark my words, this guy wants to run for president. Now, what do I do here on this show? Every week, I try to look ahead. It's not just reacting to what's happened in the last 10 minutes. Where are we headed? We have a huge problem on our hands because it used to be once upon a time that Republicans were the center-right party and Democrats were the center-left. And the criticism that we heard, in fact, I think what gave Trump a bit of an edge in the last 3 election cycles is that Trump ran against the uniparty. Not really as a radical right-winger. Trump is anything but that. But he went for the common sense consensus of a majority of Americans and won the popular vote. And maybe won the popular vote actually back in 2016, very well possible, when you consider all the fraud. So Trump's done very well electorally, simply running on a basic promise of keeping America's homeland safe, illegal immigration, right? Beefing up the military, that goes with number one, a favorable, economy, jobs, but not promising free things. And the Democrats have been lost because Trump stole from them their platform. Trump went for the blue-collar working classes. So this is, if you don't listen to anything else I say today, listen to what is about to come out of my mouth. The Democrats have lost the working class, the big labor. They're losing it all to Trump and MAGA Republicans. So what do they have left? Democratic socialism. That's it. Trump has, now we can debate whether this is good or bad politically, Trump has forced the DNC to pivot. Trump stole from them a base of support. We'll call it 80% of blue-collar people that once upon a time supported Bill Clinton are now probably voters of Donald Trump. The DNC, and Robbie, you're right about this, the DNC is fundamentally broken, right? As an organization, they're out of money, they're broke, they're lost, everything they've done has turned to doo-doo, and it is ripe for the taking of radical actors like this Zohran guy in New York, and like AOC, like Ilhan Omar. And all of a sudden, we're going to have basically what? I mean, can I be a little flip here? Wait for this to get to blow out of proportion. We're going to have a guy from, this is the new face of the Democratic Party. Socialists from, where's AOC? Is she from Puerto Rico? Okay. Where is she from? Ilhan Omar is from Somalia. Okay. The Zohran guy is from Uganda, a Muslim from Uganda. We have these like third party. Where is Rashida Tlaib from? Hey, you start looking at who the future is of the Democratic Party. It's horrifying. They want to turn us into some kind of a third world country, and they're not even hiding it. Well, AOC's family is from Puerto Rico. Kind of like I am a Czech guy, but I'm, of course, born in the USA. All right. Well, I'm just saying she talks about Puerto Rico a hell of a lot, Robbie, okay? She's always talking about it. And Puerto Rico, I get it. It's, but it's part of the U.S., but have you ever been? Save for a few luxury resorts, beaches, etc., it is a third world country, a territory of the U.S. It's disastrous. I've been there several times. It's not a pretty sight. Okay. So this is where we're at. And now the next question is this good or bad electorally? Think of this in terms of a post-Trump world. 3 years from now, we're going to be in the midst of an election for the next president. Can you imagine how, I predict that whoever the Democratic nominee is, they're going to be fairly left-wing. And we're going to be choosing an election where it's someone like that versus, let's say, a J.D. Vance. And J.D. Vance, I love him. He is enormously intelligent. I trust him to make good decisions. But Trump, he is not. J.D. Vance doesn't have Trump's charm and immense, larger-than-life persona. And will he pull the votes? I mean, I don't know. And so I bring this, I'm bringing all this stuff up again to look beyond the moment and to realize that we could end up in a place where our president is someone who talks like this guy. And it's horrifying, okay? It's absolutely frightening. By the way, Mamdani was asked last year in December with a former MSNBC host, Mehdi Hassan. You guys know this guy. He's a little weasel, leftist, pro-Palestine guy. I asked what he would do if he was mayor. What he would do if Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu, prime minister of Israel, came to visit New York, for example, to go to the UN. This is a response, right? Think about this, right? This is absolutely crazy.
And Mayor Mamdani, would you welcome Prime Minister Netanyahu to New York City for whatever he comes for, given the US is not a signatory to the ICC, so he can travel to the US, unlike a lot of other countries. Would a Mayor Mamdani welcome Benjamin Netanyahu to the city?
No. As mayor, New York City would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a city that our values are in line with international law. It's time that our actions are also.
Even though the US is not a signatory to the ICC?
No, it's time that we actually step up and make clear what we are willing to do to showcase the leadership that is sorely missing in the federal administration.
Lovely. Perfect. Go New York. Good luck with this. By the way, Mayor Eric Adams, the current mayor who was a former Democrat until Biden stuck a shiv in him, is going to run as an independent in the general election. And I understand that, what is this, Robbie, that Cuomo is going to run if he doesn't win this outright? It's ranked choice voting, which is don't even get me started. If he doesn't win it outright, he can run under a different party. He's worked out a deal with them. So basically, yeah, he's a fight and deliver party. It's a third party, whatever. So there could be a big showdown in the general election where again, still he could come out if Cuomo and Eric Adams fractured the vote, split the vote. A guy like Mamdani could end up taking it. And being mayor of New York would be a pretty solid launching point for a career at a national level. Yes, very scary stuff. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT, back in a moment. All right, friends, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings. Welcome to the program. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam on X, formerly known as Twitter. This guy running for mayor of New York, perhaps a future leading Democratic candidate nationally, calls himself a Democratic socialist. And here in an interview back in 2021 on Islamic Leadership Council of New York podcast, this guy says some pretty interesting things that I hope would disqualify him from running for political office. But no, not in New York. This all is par for the course.
You don't get into Palestinian solidarity activism if you have any interest in getting into elected politics in this country. It's almost like two complete opposite dreams. But then, as you said, I worked on Father Khadr al-Yatim's campaign, who was a Palestinian, continues to be, a Palestinian Lutheran minister, who also was a socialist. And those were two main issues for me. It was Palestine and was socialism. And because of the universality of socialism as a political ideology, one that did not have exceptions for Palestine, I was really drawn to it. And as well as, its critiques of the economic system and its beliefs in what a dignified life would look like for people. And so Father K, what he did is he showed me that my politics internationally and locally could exist in the context of local politics. You could be pro-BDS and anti-developer and run for city council.
Wow. Oh, this one guy showed me that you can you could be both. You could be pro Hamas and you could be on city council at the same time. What were the two main issues here that he claims were important to him? Palestine and socialism. You notice how I've been telling you over and over again that the Palestine thing is really just a cover for neo-Marxism? It's happening. It's occurring. The Democratic Party is no longer the Democratic Party of the Bill Clinton era. They've been taken over and are being taken over as we speak by radicals. You know what's funny? If I can do a little through line here. The very month that Iran may, into next month because we're at the end of June here, the very time period that Iran may dump its Islamic fundamentalist, socialist state control regime, New York might pick an Islamic fanatic and socialist to be their leader. It's almost like Tehran and New York City are swapping places. If you think I'm exaggerating, here's what he thinks from the river to the sea means. It's just a pleasant vibe thing, I guess.
The phrase globalized intifada, from the river to the sea, does that make you uncomfortable?
I know people for whom those things mean very different things. And to me, ultimately, what I hear in so many is a desperate desire for equality and equal rights.
Well, I don't know. I hear the destruction of Israel and the killing of Jews. Yeah, we just want equal rights. Future mayor of New York. Maybe he'll be he's not a natural born citizen. He can't be president. Could be a senator. Could be all sorts of things. Could run the DNC. By the way, he used a bunch of different accents throughout his life. This is another funny thing. I love this. All these different accents. And they asked him about it. They're like, well, it's just different times in my life, It's like Jasmine Crockett. By the way, I'll leave it with DeSantis. DeSantis said it the best. If this guy wins, it's the best news for Florida ever.
if this socialist mayor candidate wins in New York City, you're going to see real estate values skyrocket even more in Palm Beach because people are going to get out of that city. As bad as de Blasio was, this guy is like going to be way, way worse. He doesn't think that you should have law enforcement in dangerous parts of the city, that you should send in social workers. See how that works out for you. It ain't going to work out well. So, you know, they've made a lot of really dumb decisions, and we've benefited from it.
Now, of course, like I said before, okay, Palm Beach, Miami, nice parts of Florida, even parts like Winter Park up in the Orlando area, areas have just blown up because New Yorkers with some amount of means, depending on their means, are relocating down, working remotely, still have their jobs in the city, same time zone, right? So can work their normal hours, but are away from the insanity that the Democrats created. And remember, you know, it was Giuliani who cleaned up New York. He cleaned it up. He made it a great place to live again. And, you know, as much as his successor, of course, Bloomberg, maintained it. And de Blasio sunk it. And it hasn't recovered and it will not recover. But it's relevant, of course, broader conversation about the direction of the Democratic Party. And this could be, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, good news for Republicans. Sam Mirejovsky here on News Talk 840 KXNT. I'll see you again tomorrow.